Now I will talk about knowledge of audit entity in planning value for money audits. The first question is, what is important to know? Well, obtaining an understanding of business practice and external environment of the audit entity is the fundamental base of planning the audit of the public sector. Because after understanding its operations, activities, resources, or the industry, the auditor may be able to identify the high-risk areas to conduct further audit procedures. If the auditor possesses the previous experience, he or she has to determine if there are any significant change that will have impact on the audit entity's significant operations or activities. For example, the service provided by the public sectors could be affected if there are changes in policies or constraints set by the governing bodies. On the other hand, if the auditor does not have any previous experience of auditing similar entities, he or she should establish a knowledge base of the audit entity in order to plan the audit. Additionally, for some specific areas such as engineering, statistical analysis, and etc., specialized knowledge and competencies are necessary to perform the audits. Lastly, but not the least, it is important to understand that obtaining information could be very costly, so that a trade-off between cost and usefulness of information is required. The cost could also include the time and auditor access to obtain the information. To achieve such balance, an auditor should first determine the relevance between the information and potential high-risk areas, where it requires an auditor's professional judgment. Next, I will further explain the features where an auditor can identify potential changes. Well, the first thing to look at is the nature of entity, including its form of organization, government authorities, and its objectives. It helps an auditor to understand the audit entity's performance goals, then identify potential high-risk areas and external constraints. Next thing is the accountability relationship. Say the management team and the governing bodies. Usually it can be board of directors. The accountability relationship in the public sector could be complex, since it involves a variety of components, including the legal and the political aspects. Another special thing to notice is that it could be conflicting objectives that auditors should pay a special attention to. Understanding the changes in significant programs, operations, and activities facilitates an auditor to assess whether they are still relevant to the audit entity's objectives and how they achieve them. Also, an auditor should be concerned about the audit entity's performance and resources. An auditor can compare the audit entity's performance goal to its actual performance, then start auditing with those areas that are not meeting the goals. Good performance goals could be used as audit criteria. Then we move on to the resources. Resources includes physical, financial, and human resources. Changes in resources could indicate a change in priorities of the audit entity based on the allocation of resources. Also, an auditor should be concerned about any change in the way that an audit entity accounts for fixed assets, since entities in the public sectors usually hold public assets. Lastly, an auditor performing audits for the public sectors should also be alert to changes in external environment. Factors in external environment such as competition, changes in policies need to be taken into consideration when an auditor obtains the knowledge of the audit entity.